I don't usually make impulse purchases when it comes to video games these days, especially with the price of games and with the ability to go online and look at gameplay and stuff and get a feel for the game. But that's exactly what I did with Resident Evil Village. I hadn't been following the game, I didn't know anything about the game. The game had already been out for a little while, but I had recently purchased a PS5 and I was in that new console phase where I was really excited to play, a true PS5 game. And I went on Amazon and it just so happened that this game was on sale. So I took a look at it on YouTube, just some short gameplay clips, and it was really the front cover with the werewolf that kind of caught my eye. I'm really into that kind of thing, werewolf, vampires, all that kind of stuff. So when I saw the werewolf on the front cover, I was like, okay, a Resident Evil werewolf game, that sounds interesting. Let's go and look at some clips. And yeah, it was on sale and it was a bit of an impulse purchase. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it or not, but I picked the game up, and from there I had one of the best experiences I've had in many years with video games. The game starts off recapping the events of Resident Evil 7. Village is a continuation of the story from Resident Evil 7, so if you haven't played that game, keep that in mind. It might be something you want to go and play before starting Village. However, like I said, the game starts off giving you a quick recap of what happened in that game and the story before putting you into the first part of Village, which is this really unique little children's book done in this Tim Burton style fairy tale cartoon. It's called Village of Shadows, and it's just this really nice way to begin the game. It's a really, really creepy, dark children's book, and I don't want to spoil it for you. It's definitely worth watching. It's a really, really fun way to start the game, and it sets the mood for Village really well. So shortly after the really interesting opening to the game, after a couple of events that happen at the very start, you find yourself in this forest surrounded by darkness in thick, thick snow, not really knowing what has happened, searching for answers and clues. And you then experience what I always refer to as an Oblivion moment. And what I mean by that is anyone who's played The Elder Scrolls of Oblivion and played it back at the time it came out, you had this moment at the start of the game where you were going through the claustrophobic, dark castle dungeons at the very start of the game. And there's this moment where you come out and you look across the lake and the game just opens up to you. And not only is it absolutely stunning, but you just get this sense of scale and just wonder when you look across this lake and you look at this world that you can go out and explore. And early on in Village, after stumbling through this thick snow in this forest, you're surrounded in darkness. You can hear the creatures around you. They're just far enough that they're out of sight, hidden in the darkness, but they're so close that you can hear them panting and breathing, and it's terrifying. It really is. At the start of the game, it's terrifying just walking through this forest, feeling this thing stalking you down, or things stalking you down. And you get to this moment where you climb to the top of this hill and you go through these rocks, and the game opens up and you look across this mountainous valley and you see this old Gothic style castle in the distance. The bells from the castle chime and it just looks utterly amazing, and you look out there in wonder, not knowing what you're going to experience, but you know that you want to experience it. The game consists of 5 main areas, the village itself being the kind of central area that you will find yourself going back and forth throughout different areas over and over again. However, it's done in a way that doesn't feel repetitive. You're not just going up and down the same path in the village. Each area of the village is carefully crafted so that there's different areas that, when exploring a certain area, will allow you to open up other areas, so you'll find yourself going back and forth through the village, opening up more and more different pathways to different locations. But there are 4 main branching paths that go to each of the big bosses of the game, as well as other smaller paths which lead out to some exploration areas to where you can find different loot. You'll find puzzle areas where you'll be doing different puzzles that will give you access to new items, different little hidden secrets or collectibles. But the main area of the game is obviously the village itself, and it's this Eastern European style, old, broken down, desolate village that just reeks of starvation, suffering, pain, death. I mean, when you walk through there early on, there you see these like creepy things hanging from the trees, from the buildings. You see the carcasses of dead horses. You just see rotten flesh. You see like animals in the game just running around there. But it's this barren village where it looks like there's no life there, although you will come to find that in different areas of the village there is still life lingering, holding on to the hope that they can exist in this horrible land.
Stupid man thing! You won't live long, even if you run!
One of my favourite aspects of the game is that each of the areas in the game feels vastly different from the previous area. Now, none of them feel out of place. All the locations feel natural. They feel like they do belong there, and that they all connect to the world and create a realistic setting and a believable setting. But because they change up the horror in each of these areas, they all play and feel very different. For example, the castle with Lady Dimitrescu, it's all about her towering presence, her constant pressure, chasing you down, never giving you a moment's rest. You're always on edge. There's a lot of jump scares and traditional horror, and the atmosphere of that castle, it's just terrifying. You never know you never know when she's going to be around the next corner, or if she's going to be behind you. You never know when one of the sisters is going to pop up out of nowhere. You're just constantly on edge and, terrified for your life. You have the dollhouse area, which is about supernatural horror, playing with your mind, just this like psychological dollhouse that is just one of the best areas in the game. You have a very underappreciated area, I think, of the game, which is the area with the dam, and that's all about the visual horrors of the world. It's about the grotesque, disgusting appearance of this creature. It's like sometimes you just don't even want to look at it. It's just horrifying to visually see this creature. And then, of course, you have the factory with Heisenberg, which is all about the horrors of technology and machine, and what man can do with this technology, you know, altering the human body and combining it with the machine to create these horrific creatures. It's just terrifying what the possibilities are. And then of course you have the village where you have the werewolves constantly hunting you down, and these are fearsome creatures that, you know, you're always limited with your ammo, and they're always in packs, and it's very, very terrifying when these creatures are coming towards you aggressively. They're very intimidating, they're powerful, and all these areas combine to feel like they're all linked together naturally, but as you blend them all together, you get to experience these different layers of the horror genre, and I think that's just done so well, and it's one of the very unique things about this game. They really did make the game feel immersive, and they do that through multiple ways. I know people aren't necessarily happy about the first person view in Resident Evil games. A lot of people do want it to go back to the traditional third person view, but I'm a really big fan of this first person view. I think it adds a different dimension to the immersive nature of the game, and when you combine that with the amazing lighting in the game and the amazing sound effects and the music, everything comes together to really make you feel immersed. I mean, I played the game on the PlayStation 5 using the PlayStation Pulse headset, the new kind of official Sony headset that they launched with the PlayStation 5, and I can tell you, I never took that headset off throughout playing the entire game, and I was just really hooked. I was so zoned into the game and being there. It was a really good experience. There are certain areas where the light is just used so well, and the sound, and then just like the atmosphere of the environments, everything comes together so well, and it really is immersive. And I would like them to continue using this first person view at least for a couple more games if they want to change it up, like with the new announcement they're adding third person to Village in the new release for the DLC, so that's a great way to offer that for people who are fans of that. But I'm a real big fan of this first person view, and yeah, I think the atmosphere and everything, like I said, the lighting, the sound effects, everything comes together to really make this an immersive experience. I do want to take just a minute to mention the Dualsense controller, which I think was really subtle, but it added enough to the game to where it wasn't imposing itself on the gameplay, but it did do something that really felt great when I was playing the game, and that's the weight of each gun was really felt in the controller. So the triggers, for example, if I was holding a shotgun, would be a lot stiffer and heavier to pull down than if I was doing a pistol. Also, when pulling them down, they would start off quite stiff and then they would click and snap the same way that a gun trigger would. And then also on top of that, when you reload the weapon, you felt the vibration in the controller of the click when the clip is snapped in and you feel the bullets lodging into place. It was just a really subtle thing that added to, obviously this is exclusive to the PlayStation experience of the game, but it was just a really nice little thing that they done there, and I really like that. It added to the immersion of the game, and yeah, I mean, I'd like to see more things done like that with the Dualsense controller. All the enemies in the game have really unique movements and different characteristics, so the way you deal with them is very different. You'll see a lot of enemies have, you know, like a lot of the slower ones anyway, will have this kind of drunken stagger to where they stumble around and they become very unpredictable in their movements. Same with the werewolves, they can be unpredictable because they can dart from side to side, but they're a lot more fast and aggressive and just storm towards you. And a lot of the different enemies have these different movements that really make them feel unpredictable, and I really like that about the enemies. It made them feel even more intimidating, and makes you as the player have a lot more nervous moments where you're shooting, maybe you're down to your last 3 bullets and you're panicking, and it causes you to miss a couple of times because of the enemy movement. But I thought that was done really well as well.
Welcome, Ethan.
It does always help to go and explore the world and try and track down any of the ammo crates that you can find, because you are limited in your ammunition and your inventory is small, so you have to do a lot of management when it comes to your inventory. And the more hidden items that you can find throughout the world as well will help towards going to the merchant and exchanging them for currency, and then you can buy more ammo, upgrade your weapons, you know, your ammo capacity, the power of the weapons, etc., as well as your character. So it does always help to go and try and explore every area of the locations throughout the world, because you will find hidden secrets. You might come across certain areas that have puzzle elements, and you're always rewarded with either ammo or a hidden item that you can exchange for currency to go and improve your experience. Later on in the game does get a lot easier, because when you've upgraded your character and you've got a lot more inventory space, you find that, you know, you're able to manage things better. But definitely towards the first half of the game, there is a lot of inventory management and just trying to use all of your resources as best you can.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now to cook. Apologies for the wait. Here's your share.
You've ruined everything!
really do love all the characters in the game. Everyone down to the merchant, just the merchant alone, he's got so much personality and it's so much fun just hearing him say things to you, and just when you're purchasing from him, his reaction to things. All the different main characters in the game, especially Lady Dimitrescu, I mean, I love her, she's such a cool character. Hopefully there's more to come from her in some sort of Resident Evil maybe TV show or something like that down the line, maybe even a movie, because I thought her character's really unique, and it was a lot of fun to experience her. And then all the other characters in the game, they all offer something very different from each other, but I think the game is the perfect balance of, you know, different types of personalities. And it's one of the weird occasions where I don't think I've disliked a single character in the game. The only thing I would say though is the weakest element of the game, in my opinion, would be the boss encounters, and that's a shame because I do love all these characters, but I didn't find myself necessarily challenged by any of the final boss encounters. Maybe the final boss of the game was a bit more challenging than all the other ones, but I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more challenge, because the lead up to all these boss fights is so intense and you're waiting for this big moment that you're up against this big bad boss, and none of them really felt like they were that much of a challenge. Don't get me wrong, all the boss designs and everything look incredible, but I just would have liked to have seen a bit more challenge. I do also want to take a minute just to talk about the end game. After you complete the game, you get a new game mode difficulty. There's a new game mode called Mercenaries, but you also unlock a lot of cool concept art and figures and other stuff that you can go in and have a look at. And it's not something I normally do with other games, but because I enjoyed the world and the characters of Village so much. I spent a little bit of time going through all of this and, you know, purchasing some of the different figures and concept arts, and it really is amazing, some of the stuff and some of the design art that you get to see in there, and the figures are extremely detailed models of some of the bosses and the enemies and just the items that you get in the game, and it is worth taking a little bit of time to go through that. But also the Mercenaries mode is a lot of fun, and something that if you want to, you can get a lot more out of the game just spending some time with that at the end of the game. Village is by no means a short experience, but it's also not one of those stupidly long experiences that asks you to spend 100 hours doing 100 different things that really don't matter to the game. This is a compact but quality experience. It's truly one of the best horror games I've played, but also, and more importantly, it's one of the best Resident Evil games I've ever played. The game is just done so well. Everything about the atmosphere, the environments, the characters, the lighting, the weapons, everything combines to make a phenomenal game, and I think they've really done a fantastic job with Village, and I really hope the series continues down this road in the future.